Representing Latina women in Minnesota is honored, but it's a complex identity. As Latinos, we usually get put in a box. We are told, this is who you are, this is who you belong to. But as you move into a new community, you also become part of that community. So for me to be a Latina in Minnesota means that I still keep my Latina identity, but I'm also part of this community, part of learning what does it mean to be myself as a Latina, representing mi gente, my people in Minnesota, but also be able to contribute to the community and be part of the community.
Yo, un Latino en Minnesota is presented by You Care and by the Minnesota Twins, proudly celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month.
My name is Patricia Conde Brooks. I'm originally from Bogota, Colombia, an immigrant. I immigrated to the United States when I was starting high school. I am the first in my family to go to college. I am the first woman in my family actually to graduate from college. I moved to Minnesota about 18 years ago, and I have been a part of the Minnesota communities ever since then. You see, historically, the immigration story of Latinos coming to the southern part of the United States is told, but we don't tell is the immigration of the Latinos that come to the northern states, to Minnesota. So I always think of the Latinos that are in Minnesota as being more resilient than others. Yo, Latino in Minnesota, to me means that we're here and for many. And so we're many times we're the first Latina that many people have met, had relationships with. Surely many times we're the first Latinos that have been supervisors, bosses, leaders in industries. And so we're contributing to educating and enriching the community, and we're giving a little bit of sazon, a little bit of flavor to the Minnesota community. Education plays a huge role in the development of the Latino community. We need to be educados y preparados. That means we have to be educated and prepared. And to me, that means opening doors for education. We are gaining in education as Latinos. We're seeing our Latinos complete high school. Now we got to move on to higher education. Only 21% of the Latino population has a four-year degree, and we need to increase those numbers. Education opens doors, education opportunities. And I don't necessarily mean that you have to go get a degree, a bachelor's degree. You can do so at a community college. Technical skills are obviously need. But when you have that education, it opens doors for you. It also offers us opportunities to learn more about the community that we're in, and to be able to ask for the seat at the table in a different manner, because now we have those degrees in education that counts for us. So I've been an educator my whole life. I've been in higher education for over 30 years, and I've had the privilege and the honor to work with Latino students through my whole time in education. And I feel like I learn as much from the students as they teach me. But one of the things I know for sure is that if no estamos preparados, if we're not ready, we not only give the education, but give opportunities to do internships, to do apprenticeships, to be able to open doors that our community will fall behind. So education is the passion, and education is what I mean to do in my way of serving my community. I would say that the biggest gift our community has now is our Z generation Latinos. These are the new generation. About 80% of the students that we're seeing coming into education are U.S. citizens that were born here in the United States. Now, most of them are children of immigrants, but they're going to be driving the workforce in our country. One of the things that I find very unique about the Z generation Latinos is that they don't have to choose. In the past, you were ni de aquí, ni de allá. I wasn't from here or from there. The Z generation Latinos son de aquí y de allá. They're hypercultural. That means that they're able to navigate both cultures seamlessly. We're seeing a resurgence of Spanish speaking. For our community has had, sadly, a history what we call language abstraction. So the language being taken away from us because of laws, because assimilation, because of survival, really, of being Latinos. But this generation doesn't have to do that. First of all, they have social media that gives them access to be able to keep the language. They're being able to start connecting with abuelitos y abuelitas in the future. But that is the Z generation. El futuro es Latino, I always say, and it is the future because of our young Latinos. We're seeing our Latinas getting education at higher levels than our Latino men, and that's an area opportunity that we have for us. But we are seeing how they are not only being the first, but they're opening doors and they're persevering to education. So they're getting their education at levels that I see will make us compatible in the workforce. So I love to share about Latina women. That's actually my area of expertise. My whole research is on Latina leadership. We have a history. We have a history of the Latina women being the ones behind the scenes. We have the ones being supportive, but now we're going to the forefront. Latinas are educating and going to college and getting degrees at higher levels than others. They're stepping into public office. The explosion of Latinas here in Minnesota alone, we have, when we look at some of our representatives in Minnesota, mayors of cities, city council, school boards, Latinos are stepping up, finding their voice and speaking up. Perhaps some of us growing up didn't do that because of some of our cultural values and scripts, but calladita no es más bonita. That means if you're quiet, you're not going to be prettier. But that means that we have a voice and we're activating that voice for change. And most of all, when we do that with familismo, bringing the family together and our community together. So in Latinas, we're very conscious that when we go to the table and we represent, we're bringing others with us to the table, and that distinctiveness gives us a unique flavor of leadership, one that I'm very proud of. What I would like Minnesotans to know about the Latino community in the state is that we're not monolithic. We are very diverse. We're very diverse. We can come from 27 different countries. Some of us will speak Spanish. Some of us will not speak Spanish, and that's okay. That's not what makes us Latinos. We have different ethnicities. We have indigenous Latinos, Afro-Latinos, white Latinos. But one thing that I would want him to know is that as people, as the Latinos, la Latinidad, is our values, our core values. Latinos are very family-oriented. We are always thinking collectively. Anybody that thinks collectively is always going to look for what is best for the community. We think about respeto. We're very respectful people. We acknowledge very much about being simpáticos, being friendly to people. We are, most of all, bienvenidos, welcome. We're welcoming people. We welcome others from other communities. We'd love for you to learn about our different foods, a variety of foods, where all the kinds of food, all kinds of the music. But I want to move on beyond fun, flags, and food, and just really get to know us as people. We are warm. Wherever we go, we have a resiliency. Think about the resiliency that it takes to leave your home country and start somewhere when there's no one like you. And I know this country is made up of immigrants, but we're the new immigrants, we're the new people to come to Minnesota. And given an opportunity, we will not only be grateful, but we're also contributing. We will contribute to the prosperity and to the future of the state of Minnesota. So that's what I would like you to know. Los Latinos somos juntos aquí en Minnesota. We're here together in Minnesota. Mi nombre es Patricia Conde Brooks. Yo soy una latina en Minnesota.
Visit and share video profiles with the perspective of successful Latinos, offering a better understanding of the contributions made by the Latino community in Minnesota. Yo, un Latino en Minnesota is presented by You Care and by the Minnesota Twins, proudly celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month.
El Departamento de Salud ha anunciado el final de la emergencia de salud pública del COVID-19. Esto significa que estamos en una mejor posición debido a las pruebas disponibles, tratamientos y especialmente vacunas. Recuerde que las vacunas y los medicamentos contra el COVID-19 siguen siendo gratuitos para todos. Consulte con las organizaciones de su comunidad o llame al Departamento de Salud de Minnesota 651-201-3920. Un mensaje de El Minnesota de hoy y Latino Media.
So I think this generation that I belong to is a generation of power. We are decided to achieve our goals, to embrace our heritage, however, drive change. We want to see things done differently. We want to see our families, our communities being successful, healthier. And I think no matter where we go, either within work or volunteering, that's something that we strive for in every step we make. I think in general, the way that our Latinos and Hispanics are introducing themselves into public roles, government official roles, even corporate America, that means to me that we are changing how history is going to be written long-term for the United States. I think it's not a secret that Hispanics and Latinos continues to be a growing group within the population of the United States. Politicians, economists are recognizing that we have a buying power, and I think as we continue to progress and mature, media, all the people making the decision in corporate America, even our politicians, they're going to start incorporating and recognizing the weight that we as a community have. And furthermore, I would say, as I mentioned before, we're going to continue and drive change into how things are done.
Meet leaders in the Hispanic community with the series Yo Un Latino en Minnesota. Produced by M Latino Media, Yo Un Latino en Minnesota is presented by You Care and by the Minnesota Twins, proudly celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. Celebrando con orgullo el mes de la herencia hispana, septiembre 15 a octubre 15.
My parents, my mother, arrived here in Minnesota in 1928, along with her parents, mis abuelos, Francisco y Crescencia Rangel. They brought with them traditions, many traditions, song, dance, poem, plays, music, food, and that was all given to me, all seen by me as from the day that I was born. It was instilled in me, all of the traditions that they brought here.
Yo Un Latino en Minnesota is presented by You Care and by the Minnesota Twins, proudly celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month.
My name is Rebecca Moran Cusick, and I am the founder, the director, and instructor of Los Alegres Bailadores, a Mexican dance group that has been here for over 40 years. Folkloric dance is what just spoke to me. It was just in my blood, and I couldn't let it go. My aunt, Maria Moran, had a group here in Minnesota, Ballet Folklorico Guadalupana, and I danced in her group. And before I even danced in her group, I danced with my mother and father, who taught me how to dance, and I created my little group down in our basement when I was just a young girl. And I kept it going, and after dancing with my aunt, I loved it even more. And then I went to study in Mexico City, and it couldn't leave. I had to share it with all who had interest in learning Mexican dance. I feel very, very proud of what I do, because I see little ones, young ones, second and third generations that have been here, that are here, and want to know more about their culture. They want to learn. They've never even been to Mexico. Because of the years that have gone by, like I said, things get lost, and so I feel like I can connect them to their heritage. And being here in Minnesota, it isn't that easy. In the beginning especially, it was very difficult. The doors were not quite open as they are now, and they still hopefully will even open wider. But to have us be able to share our culture and share what we love to do, and show what we have to offer and what Mexico is about. I feel that I have been able to represent our community quite with a lot of pride, because I grew up in West St. Paul, very close to St. Paul's West Side. And St. Paul's West Side has a beautiful community with many Mexican Americans that live there and live around there that have really opened the door for me to be accepted in all aspects of where to dance and a place to have a home. And I just am so grateful that the people there in St. Paul's West Side have always been so open and loving to Los Alegres Bailadores. Being born here in the U.S. and not being born in Mexico, for instance, I go to Mexico and I'm Americana, and I live here in Minnesota and I am Mexicana. So I feel that difference, and I know that the children here in Minnesota that have that same identity struggle. Who am I? And that's where I feel like, and I speak, there's so many different components to our cultures, not just dance, but dance is what I know. Dance is what I can share. Being a Latina and being female, I know that it has not always been easy. And as the years has gone by, and as I've done this for so long, I haven't found and I haven't felt that feeling I had in the beginning where people were so hesitant and not sure. And now, not only me, but there are so many women in my own community that have flourished and are really showing who they are and what they can do. And it is a wonderful, wonderful feeling to have that coming. And I know it's got a long ways to go, but I'm glad that I am part of and one of those women. And I hope that many of those younger children that are seeing this role of the Latina women being and doing and being out in the public and doing what they love to do, that they too can do themselves someday. The Latinas are here, and we are hungry to do more, to be more, and with all of your support, with all of Minnesota opening their doors, we will do this. My name is Rebecca Moran Cusick, and I am Mexican American Latina in Minnesota.
Visit and share video profiles with the perspective of successful Latinos, offering a better understanding of the contributions made by the Latino community in Minnesota. Yo, un Latino en Minnesota is presented by You Care and by the Minnesota Twins, proudly celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month.
Yo considero que los inmigrantes que vinieron hace 30, 20, 25, 15 años, lo que les ha hecho tener éxito en sus actividades es ese espíritu que tenemos todos como emprendedores, pero también una gran resiliencia y una gran adaptabilidad a los cambios y una gran adaptabilidad también a nuevos espacios en donde podemos contribuir con ideas innovativas y con una perspectiva que las personas localmente normalmente no tienen. Lo que nosotros notamos cada vez más es el entusiasmo de la juventud latina en cuanto a influir, participar y ser parte de la toma de decisiones políticas y la toma de decisiones públicas. Hay muchísimo más involucramiento y muchísimo más atención que se prestan a muchos temas actualmente, y eso hace que el liderazgo juvenil esté cada vez más sobresaliendo en muchos ámbitos profesionales y particularmente en el ámbito de los asuntos públicos.
Meet leaders in the Hispanic community with the series Yo Un Latino en Minnesota. Produced by M Latino Media, Yo Un Latino en Minnesota is presented by You Care and by the Minnesota Twins, proudly celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. Celebrando con orgullo el mes de la herencia hispana, septiembre 15 a octubre 15.
I made it to Minnesota with the idea of going to the University of Minnesota, which I did. So I'm very happy to be a graduate of that wonderful university. I would say that in the last 30 years, my experience living here has been nothing but wonderful, honestly. And also, one of the reasons that I chose to come to Minnesota is because of its beautiful landscape. Once I heard that it was the state of 10,000 lakes, even if it sounds cliche, it's a wonderful place to be, surrounded by trees and water, and that's why I chose to be in Minnesota. I think Minnesotans should know that Latinos have many ways of contributing. Latinos appreciate nature, and Minnesota is a perfect example of it. Arts, we really appreciate also the kindness of others. We are adaptable, hardworking, and we love to learn. Whether we're coming from Mexico or Spain or Latin America, we have many things that unite us, and while we are very diverse as a group, because there's many races, whether it's our music, whether it's our art, whether it's our food, our talents, or our traditions, we have a lot to give and contribute to the greater Minnesota. I think we're living in extraordinary times, whether it is here in Minnesota or elsewhere in the world. We have the opportunity to share our rich cultural heritage with others, as others share it with us. And I have never seen such a time when corporations and organizations be so open and interested today in bringing diversity to their workplace, to their programs, and to their strategic planning. And I just think they have also realized, and I hope that our value and our strength and the Latin people bring to our community. There's a lot of things I like about Minnesotans. I think first of all is probably that they are interested in learning about other cultures and the respect for immigrants. My mission is to highlight the contributions of all cultures through music and the arts, because I feel that this brings us better understanding with one another and appreciation. It also creates bridges among different generations. And I think this benefits the whole community as a whole. I would love to see all Latinos have access to the arts, have access to sports, have access to economic and educational opportunities. Let's begin the day with faith in ourselves and end the day with gratitude. And I would like to add one more quote from a former Mexican president, Benito Juárez, who once said, "Showing respect for others creates peace." My name is Roma Calatayud Stocks. I am an author, a songwriter, and a teaching artist, and I am a Latina in Minnesota.
Meet leaders in the Hispanic community with the series Yo Un Latino en Minnesota. Produced by M Latino Media, Yo Un Latino en Minnesota is presented by You Care and by the Minnesota Twins, proudly celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. Celebrando con orgullo el mes de la herencia hispana, septiembre 15 a octubre 15.
You can't define cultures in the same way that maybe like our parents did in some ways. I mean, I do believe in the term Latinx because I feel like it's more inclusive of a complex narrative. You know, we're not just one thing, and I think that can even be broken down in gender, and it can be, you know, broken down in lots of different ways, but I think that recognizing that our narratives are complex, they're not just one thing, it's not just a term like Hispanic that can be like lumped together in order to make like a simpler check on a box, you know, for like a census. Hispanic is a term that wasn't defined by the people. It was taken back, you know, Chicano or Chicana, Latino, Latinx, these kind of like reclamations or even like refining what that definition means. Like, it's important because we need to be represented, but also those labels still serve to kind of like keep us apart and keep us boxed in. So I do feel like my generation and younger generations, they don't really subscribe to those labels.
Meet leaders in the Hispanic community with the series Yo Un Latino en Minnesota. Produced by M Latino Media, Yo Un Latino en Minnesota is presented by You Care and by the Minnesota Twins, proudly celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. Celebrando con orgullo el mes de la herencia hispana, septiembre 15 a octubre 15.